Welcome everyone, LMC here with a pretty cool video here today. This is going to be how to build a wind endgame wind team. There's a lot that goes into a video like this, and let me preface this video first by saying I'm going to get some stuff wrong probably, and there's going to be a lot of other options out there for you to build these teams. There's a lot that goes into theory crafting, and the free-to-play community on Facebook's done a lot of help here and given me a lot of suggestions. So I just want to share that and pass that along to everybody to help them build a really good win team that has a ton of synergy, that's going to be able to do a ton of really high level content. My win team, I know for a fact, can do Giants B10, it can do Light B10, it can do Water B10, Dark B10. So a lot of the endgame content is possible with one of these endgame win teams. So let's get right into it. I built a little bit of a spreadsheet here to help organize the thoughts so that I don't miss anything. And as you can see, there's quite a bit going on here. Everything in gray is going to be a non-farmable monster. So this is my team here, and I'm using two monsters that I had to get through rare scrolls. I got them through Mystic Scrolls. Everything in green is what those monsters are really well known for, what their main purpose is on the team, so that you don't have overlapping skills that are doing the same types of things. So let's take a look at this. The first thing you want to do when you're building an endgame win team is really pick the best leader that you can. Once you figure out what leader you're going to go with, then you can build the rest of your team. Then you can start choosing what runes fit on your team, because the leader is going to give you certain innate abilities for all your monsters that you're not going to need to make up for with the other parts of your runes. So we're just talking about dungeon teams here. This is the only monster that's really non-substitutable, and there are ways to get around using the Wind Sylphid Acasis, but she's very powerful, and I'm using her on my team because there was a Hall of Heroes event less than a month ago where a lot of people got this monster. So I'm going to go over this monster quite a bit. She's very nice on this team. She synergizes amazingly well. There's really no direct replacement for her, and a lot of people are going to have her. So she's a 50% resistance leader. She's well known for her shielding, helping your team survive longer because of that extra shield. She does an extra heals, 10% heals every 2 turns if you get her max skilled, every 3 turns if you don't go for the max skills. Extra dots on the enemy. Dot stands for damage over time effect. So that's 5% of the enemy's hit points every time a dot ticks, a damage over time effect. So that's the main way that most of the bosses, they have a ton of hit points usually, so damage over time effects are very effective right now in the current version of the game. So choosing a leader is very important. So a lot of the people in the free-to-play gaming community gave me some of these suggestions. Some of them I found on my own from going to another website that's listed on the free-to-play gaming webpage. So check that out if you're looking at doing some theory crafting. But if you're lucky enough to get a 5-star Wind Archangel, that's going to give you 50% hit points for all your monsters. He comes with a revive skill and a big heal. He's definitely a suitable replacement for a Acasis with a wind team here. As you can see, all of these possible leader replacements that I've been able to come up with are all 5-star and 4-stars. There's not that many good leader skills for 3-star monsters. There's a couple exceptions, not very many. Wind Undyne. This is a very good replacement, in my opinion, for Wind Sylphid if you're lucky enough to pull one of these. It's going to give your whole team 40% defense. She comes with heals and immunity. So immunity is going to help your team from not getting stunned, not taking those debuffs from the enemy. So that can be very useful. The immunity is not going to be up all the time, but you could make her work on your team for sure. Now, one thing to note, if you're using a separate leader with hit points, defense, if you're going with something other than resistance, my team is built around a resistance leader, so I don't have any endure runes, and I don't have really high resistance substats on my monsters because I'm already getting a 50% resistance buff from my leader. So if you're using Wind Undyne with 40% defense on all your enemies, then you're going to want to look at runes that give extra hit points. You're not going to need any guard runes or any defense runes. You're going to need hit points, you're going to need resistance runes to keep your ally monsters alive. So that's just something to take into consideration when you're deciding to build this team. So a 4-star Wind Vampire, this is a very good choice as well because it's also giving resistance by 48% in all dungeons to your team. So the leader skill itself is pretty much the same as the Wind Sylph, and she's given 50. The Wind Vampire is given 48. He's got some things that he's going to help with. He's going to help apply attack and speed debuffs to the enemy. So by doing that, now he's doing the speed debuffs and the attack debuffs, or he's helping with the attack and speed debuffs. That's the main reason to have a Bernard on your team. So now that you're using a Wind Vampire, you can replace Bernard with Darien. Darien's down here, he's the Light Vagabond. So this would be an option. And then the Light Vagabond is going to decrease all the damage that your ally monsters take by 15%. So that's going to make you more survivable too. So these are the types of things you need to think about. So I'm almost positive that these monsters right here are suitable replacements for the Acasis on a endgame win team that we're talking about pretty much specifically Giants Keep B10. You know, Giants Keep B10 is the dungeon that most people are interested in beating because that's where you're going to get your best runes from. That's where you're going to get those 6-star percent runes that everybody needs and wants to be the absolute best in this game. So people really try to do these Giants Keep B10 teams, and this is what we're focusing on for the most part. You're going to be able to do a lot of other content with this team also. So just a theory, but I think the Wind Taoist is going to be a very powerful monster. A lot of people it's another rare monster. It's one of the new monsters. It's only going to give you 28% resistance, but you could also take Darien as well. The Wind Taoist is going to help you by keeping the enemy's attack gauge down. So that's going to help tremendously as well. If the enemy can't get his attacks off, the way the giant works is once you hit him 7 times, so if you have an attack that hits twice, that's going to count for 2. So once his attack counter gets to 7, he's going to attack the monster that got him to 7 with a very powerful attack. So with that in mind, the Wind Taoist is not going to help in that regard. And I'm just going to scratch this one out. 4-star Wind Pierre is going to give you 30% resistance, but I don't think it's going to be possible to do an auto battle team with this monster. And it's going to be very difficult as well because they don't offer as much. They don't bring enough skills to the table, and they attack 5 times. Definitely a good monster, and maybe you could fit it into one of your endgame wind monster teams. But I'm not really going to talk about that too much. So let's get back to the team I'm suggesting here. Wind Griffin Bernard. You know, the main reason to have him is he's going to put attack and defense debuffs on the enemy. The attack debuff is super important, especially on Giants Keep. The less the enemy has for attack power, the less he's going to hurt you. You know, that's the main purpose of this, is survivability. This team's very survivable. So also ally speed buff, so your allies are going to be attacking faster. You're going to get more hits before the giant or any boss is going to get hits on you. So very powerful there. And also the ally attack bar increase. It's not an attack, it's a buff, so he's going to raise all of your allies' attack bar by 30%, meaning they're going to get to attack right away. Again, pretty much. So Wind Pixie Shannon, she's going to give the ally attack and defense buffs. So all your allies are going to have increased defense pretty much all the time with Shannon on your team. So you're going to take less damage. She's also going to put speed debuffs on all the enemies. So that's going to be the towers and the boss. And normally on these teams, for Shannon, I'm going to recommend, innately, she doesn't come with any stun ability. But putting Despair Runes on Shannon is a good choice because she does have the AoE attack. And with that AoE attack, if you put Despair Runes on her, she's going to get a 25% chance to stun all enemies. That's very powerful for when you're clearing trash mobs, the enemies that come before the boss. So that's a good choice. You're going to want at least one of your monsters that has an AoE ability to have Despair Runes, I would say, just to clear trash. So depending on how you're building your team, keep that in mind. Wind Yeti Rakaja, he's my main healer. He's got a huge heal, and it's dependent on how many enemies are or how many allies are still alive. So it's very important to keep all 5 of your allies still alive if you want this heal to do maximum healing. And it does close to 60%, I'm going to say, at least 50% of heals the hit points of all your allies. So very powerful heal here. So when the giant himself attacks, it's an AoE attack, so it hurts everybody. So it'll pretty much blow through the Acasis shield if you have her. It's going to do a lot of damage even if you have Darian on your team. So it's very good to save this heal until he does his main attack, his AoE attack. Extra enemy speed debuff. So in case Shannon misses with her speed debuffs and one of the towers or the boss is running rampant and doesn't have the speed debuff on it, he has that extra backup for that. Also, his other ability is a single target ability, but it also has a chance to stun. So stunning trash mobs helps with that. So the Orochi is the other member of my team here. And his main purpose is damage over time effects. And that's the main thing you're looking for. This is an easily replaceable monster because there's a lot of other monsters that can take over and put damage over time effects on the enemy. But, that's what he's well known for. If he gets a critical hit, he can put up to 5 damage over time effects on the boss. He works really well on my team. There's a lot of different substitutions you could use for him. So as far as farmable monsters, I believe you can farm a Wind Lizard Man. If not, you're probably going to end up getting one from a Mystic Scroll sometime. Velfinodon, he has good damage over time effects. He's a wind monster, so he's going to benefit from any of the wind leader abilities. In order of 3 stars that I would choose, I'd probably go with him first because he's a defense monster. He's already going to be pretty tanky. You're going to be able to rune him to put up a lot of damage over time effects. I think he's a very good choice. Also, we know that Wind Viking Walter does the same type of thing, and Wind Elemental to Horus can also put up those damage over time effects. Now, these 2 monsters are natural 2 stars, whereas the Wind Lizard Man's a natural 3 star. So the natural 2 stars are going to be harder to keep alive. You're going to have to put more defense and hit point runes on these monsters to keep them alive in endgame content. But with your win team, you're already going to have huge survivability, so it's still possible with these 2-star monsters for sure. Light Vagabond Darian, it's very possible that you can put him on your team instead of Orochi, so you're not going to have the damage over time abilities. But if you look at what he's known for, Darian's right here, decreases all the allies' damage that they take by 15%, so he's going to make your team even more survivable. He's going to help put up the enemy attack debuff just in case your Bernard misses with that. And it's very possible to auto Giants B10 with Darian instead of Orochi, or any of the other damage over time monsters, but it's going to take you a lot longer. Your only damage over time effects going to be coming from your Acasis. So that's definitely a possibility here as well as a substitution monster. Now, if you're lucky enough to pull a Wind Rakshasa Yen or a Wind Joker Lucian or a Wind Hell Lady, these are monsters that are just as good probably and better in some cases than the Orochi. I know the Wind Joker Lucian can accomplish the same thing as Orochi. He does pretty good attacks with his ignored defense. Not quite as much as Orochi, but he can definitely get the job done. I just did it a few minutes ago. And a lot of people are saying that the Wind Rakshasa is very capable as well. And the Wind Hell Lady, just from looking at her skills and stats, she's definitely capable of it as well. There's probably a whole bunch of monsters who are replaceable for Orochi. So you definitely don't need to have too much luck. You don't need to have any luck because you can get one of these farmable monsters for that place on your team. So the only one is really a leader that you really need to worry about. If you can pull one of these leaders, hopefully a win Sylphidicasis, because everything works. She just synergizes so nicely, keeping your team alive with the shields, extra heals, AoE attack, extra damage over times, that she makes an awesome member of the team. Situational monsters for other B10 content and some of the other teams we talked about. The Light Inugami Belladon, I think everybody should try to get one of these. Both of these are farmable on Sundays during the Light Elemental Dungeon. If you find somebody who has this special dungeon, you can get enough pieces to get these monsters. The Light Inugami Belladon, he can remove all the beneficial effects on the enemy, so that can be very powerful in dragons and other dungeons as well. He has extra heals. He's healing your entire team by 30% of their hit points. He also increases the attack bar of allies, the same as the Wind Griffin. Very powerful. You're going to get more attacks off in between when the enemy hits you, and an enemy defense debuff. So this isn't usually as important when you're talking about endgame dungeon monsters, because damage over time effects are usually how you're taking out their hit points, not by huge attacks, but it's definitely useful and helpful. Same with the Light Vagabond Darien, he can do the same thing, but he has the enemy attack debuff. So that's a very important one, because you want those bosses to be doing as less damage as they can. So that's why he can possibly be substitutable for the Wind Griffin in certain circumstances. And the main thing he's known for, we already talked about it, 15% ally reduction, damage reduction. So he fits into a lot of different teams. Now, Xcloss and I had a little chat a little while ago, and we think that it's possible to do Giants Keep B10 without any 4-star monsters. Now, that might require some 6-star, leveling these up to 6 stars. My entire team is only 5-star monsters. I don't have any 6-star monsters on my Giants B10 team. Now, I can't auto it yet because my runes aren't good enough, but this team might require some 6-star monsters. Not entirely sure, this is just a theory. But if you went with Amun as a leader, so this is a theory, but I think this team could really do amazing things for a lot of content, as long as it's not really heavy fire content, because you do have you're probably going to have 2 wind monsters here, at least one, Shannon, and fire strong against wind, of course. So if you take Amun as lead, he's going to give 30% extra hit points. He's a 3-star, he's the light bear man. He's going to give 30% extra hit points to all light monsters. You're taking 2 other light monsters. You're taking Darien and Belladon, who are going to be huge support. So this is more of a light team than it is anything else. You could take Shannon for her. Of course, she's very useful for this stuff. Hard to replace her. We haven't even talked about replacing her because she's only a 2-star monster and everybody can get one and get a max skill one. And then you're going to take a Dotter. So you might actually take a light dot monster instead of a wind dot monster. But the wind dot monsters are right up here pretty much. These are the ones that we've already talked about. So for the light dot monsters, damage over time monsters, I'm not really sure on that right now. But this is definitely a possibility. So if anybody does defeat Giants Keep B10 with this team, let me know. I'd be real interested to see that. So I think we talked about just about everything on this sheet. Let's talk about my main team and runes and what it's going to take to make this team capable of defeating high-end game content. Because just having these monsters isn't going to be enough. It's not an easy... You definitely have to have the right runes. Runes are very important to make this happen. And my runes are not necessarily going to be the absolute best. And I'm sure they're not going to be. I've been scraping kind of for some of these runes. Scraping the barrel and trying to get some of them. And I might not even have the best slot areas. But this has been working for me, and hopefully it's going to give you some ideas while we go through it. So Casus, let's start with her. Right off the bat, let's take a look. She's got 26% crit, 45% resistance, 54% accuracy. So of course, her leader skill is going to give her and the rest of my team 50% more resistance. So at 100% resistance, we're pretty much never going to get, if we're talking about Giants Keep B10, it's going to be, we're worried about getting increased defense debuffs put on our monsters and stuns. So high resistance is going to ensure that we don't get those debuffs put on our monsters. So that's the basis around the Acasis leader. Now if you go with hit points and defense, if you have tons of hit points for all your monsters and you have 50% hit point leader skill, it's very possible that you won't even have to worry about resistance. I know a lot of people have teams that are built around hit points and they don't even worry about resistance. But when you start getting those debuffs, it can be very detrimental, especially the stuns can really ruin a run for you. But anyways, there's a ton of different ways to do this. So let's take a look at the runes we have on her. I went with Swift Focus. As you can see, these are all plus 12. I definitely need to work on getting a 5-star speed rune. It's going to give me a lot more speed for her, but right now it's only a 4-star. So speed, hit points, this is a 6-star, so she does have a good amount of hit points, and accuracy. It's going to be difficult for you to keep her alive. She's one of the squishier of the monsters on the team I recommended here. Her, Rakaja, the Wind Yeti, and Shannon are going to be the ones that are the most difficult to keep alive. So I might actually make my Acasis a 6-star in the future because she's so good to begin with. But another thing that's going to be important, in my opinion, that you should try to work towards are the skills for your Acasis. I fed my Devilmon to her, the hard-earned Devilmon, because I'm a free-to-play player, so I only get one per week, and then randomly they'll give you one for an event. And I've been saving them up, and I fed them to her. I didn't really want to feed so many to her. I was only hoping to get this skill right here, the cooldown turn -1 on the shield. The shield is just so important on my team that it was very important that I got this skill, and it took a lot of Devilmon before this finally happened. So hopefully you'll get the shield the first time you feed a Devilmon to your Acasis, and then you won't have to worry about it. But it's also good to get this. I need to get one more Devilmon to get my cooldown turn -1 here, and then every 2 turns, instead of 3, I'm going to be recovering 10% of the allies on the hit points of the allies. So that's going to help me tremendously, but it's not necessary to beat endgame content. But it's just another way to make your team better. So skills are pretty important on Acasis, hers especially. So we already talked about the runes here. And, hit points is definitely going to be important for this monster. If you're going with Swift, Swift's going to give you more speed. Focus, you definitely want high accuracy because you want to be hitting with your first attack as often as possible. For you to get these extra continuous damage effects, especially if you're running Darien instead of Orochi, you're going to need to get these damage over time effects. So does it sound like there's a lot going into this right now? Because that's what I said at the beginning of this video. It's hard to cover everything in building a successful win team. But let's move on. That's Acasis here. I'm actually going to feed her 2 more Devilmon because I want to get this harmful effect rate plus 20% and then get even more damage over time effects. But moving on, let's talk about Bernard the Wind Griffin here. Mine has 66% accuracy, 26% resistance. So he is going to take some debuffs and he's going to get stunned a little bit. He doesn't have as high of resistance as I would like. He's got Swift Focus as well. Hit point, accuracy. Now, it wouldn't be a bad choice to go with a defense percent rune on one of these, but you probably don't need to. You could probably even get away with a speed rune here. He's already got speed coming from Swift. He's a 3-star monster, but he's naturally more tanky than some of the other monsters. So I would still probably go with hit point percent, accuracy. But Swift Focus for him, I don't have everything plus 12. I don't have the best runes. I got a lot of 4-star runes. You guys can see a 3-star rune, 3-star rune, 3-star. So he definitely doesn't have anything exceptional for runes. Let's switch over to my healer, Wind Rock Sasha, Wind Yeti. So I put 2 guard runes and the rest energy runes on him. I wanted to make sure he stayed alive, so I had this 6-star defense percent rune. So he's actually super tanky right now. Hit point percent, 246. Defense, hit point. And the energy runes are giving him more hit points. Guard runes are giving him more defense. So he's actually a really tanky monster. He's only level 5. All my monsters are level 5 right now. Max level 5. So definitely buildable team for just about anybody here. Defense, lots of hit points. He's already a defense monster, so he came with innately pretty high defense stats. And so Shannon, Bernard, Rakaja, these monsters all have max skills. They're only 2-star and 3-star natural monsters, so it's important to get these skills maxed out, especially these cooldown turns -1. You want to be able to use your heals as much as possible. Wind Pixie Shannon. Alright, so she's maxed out on her skills as well. And for her I have energy and despair runes. Hit point percent. It's nice that I have a 6-star one here. I'd like to plus 15 this eventually. Hit point percent. So let's take another quick look. She's got 43% resistance, so with the extra 50 she's getting from the Acasis, she's not going to get stunned very much. I would like to see a little bit more accuracy here. So I'm going to work on that in the future. But I definitely wanted to make sure she had enough hit points to take a hit from the giant if need be. So accuracy might not be a bad deal here, especially if you 6-star your Shannon. Probably wouldn't be a bad choice. Definitely go with more accuracy. Her skills, her normal attack, you're going to be doing the pep talk to buff your allies. You're going to be doing the decelerate to get the enemy speed debuffs. And then you're going to be doing your normal attack on the boss as well for a 50% chance at increasing the enemy's chance to land a glancing hit. The glancing hit's very important. You don't want him to be getting critical hits and doing maximum damage. It's going to do a lot less damage with that. So she's the only member of my team who has that ability to give the glancing hit. So that's the reason I'd like to see more accuracy on her. And maybe I got that wrong. Maybe I don't totally understand what I'm talking about here. But anyways, Wind Orochi, I'm pretty sure accuracy is important on that one. He's got 100% crit rate. He's got 88% accuracy. And that's all because of this skill, pretty much. 6 ninja stars, dealing damage, inflicting continuous damage for 1 turn if you get a critical hit. So you can get up to 6 dots with this. He would actually be a possibility as a leader as well, because of his leader skill, attack speed of allied monsters with wind attributes. So if you can increase the speed of all your monsters, so if you took him as lead and then took Darien or the late Inugami Belladon instead of, who could you replace? You'd have these 4 monsters, and then instead of the Acasis at all, you took Darien probably, and you get extra speed. Or Belladon would probably work also. You could just keep attacking and doing your buffs and debuffs so often that the enemies might not be able to counter it. So speed is a good leader skill as well. So you could do something like that if you don't have Acasis, but you did get Orochi. So I didn't write that on the spreadsheet, but that's definitely a possibility. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute here. All right, so focus, because I wanted high accuracy and then hit points. 6-star crit rate rune, of course, that's very important for me to be able to do this. Most Orochis are going to go blade energy, or focus, blade focus, or something like that. My combination is very irregular because I was able to achieve 100% crit rate without any blade runes. I did a rune guide video on Amun using only energy runes but still managing 100% crit rate. So I kind of did the same thing with my Orochi. A lot of these have very high crit rate percent substats, and that's how I managed 100% crit rate. So this guy's actually runed really well. He's got, this, it'd be nice to have a 6-star accuracy percent rune here, but he's got more crit rate. He's, at 100% crit and 88% accuracy, plus he's got 2 energy runes, which are pretty odd to see on this monster. Normally it would be focus blade blade or blade focus focus, something of that nature. You have to figure out what you can do with the runes you have before you really choose. Well, is blade blade focus the absolute best for this guy? No, it depends on the substats of your other runes and what you can make happen. So he's actually plenty tanky on my team. He can take 1, maybe 2 hits sometimes, because he's usually the one who's proccing that hit from the giant. When he does this skill, this counts as 6 hits, so that increases the giant's attack timer by 6, and it only takes 7 for the giant to do his attack afterwards, his counter attack. So I needed this guy to have a lot of hit points. So that's why I got this 2 energy and hit point percent here, and still maintain the all of his damage over time effects. So not a real easy character to build as far as runes go, but there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You definitely want to make sure you have crit rate and accuracy if you have Orochi. We shouldn't talk about him too much because there's a lot of substitutions for him, and not everybody's going to have the Wind Ninja. So I think that's about it. I don't have these guys. These aren't part of my team Belladon here. I'm just starting to work on, and I don't have a Light Vagabond, so I'm not going to talk about those monsters. I think that's about it. We're going to cut over to another video where we're going to explain attack order, and we're just going to do Giants B10 and talk about how to successfully complete that dungeon. So I'll talk to you guys real soon. Okay everyone, I'm back. I'm about to start Giants Keep B10. This is the dungeon we're mainly talking about right now, but this team can defeat a lot of other dungeons. We've already discussed that. So we got a Casus, a Rockcod, Wind Yeti, Wind Griffin, Wind Pixie, Wind Ninja. None of them are 6 stars, they're all 5 stars. So let's kick this thing off. Now I'm going to explain the first round of battles, and then I'm going to speed things up. And every round's going to be very similar once you start learning the attack order. So first things first, the towers are going to be the ones who do the most damage to your team. So you definitely want to work on stunning them and casting the abilities that are going to protect your team and make these enemies slower, things of that nature. But this team, pretty much all of their attacks are beneficial. So I don't know what the absolute best is when you go for the Griffin here. Probably Tailwind would be the first attack I would normally do. That's going to increase the rest of their attack bars and increase all your allies' speed. Now here you have an option. You can either go Decelerate or you can go Pep Talk. It doesn't really matter. You're going to decrease the speed of these guys, so you're still going to get another round of attacks for most of your monsters. And you already have the Acacia shield up normally. So, I don't know, I'm going to go Decelerate, but Pep Talk's probably the right choice. You're going to get increased defense and increased attack power. So, Windrock, Rakasha, I usually go with the second attack, just because you have a chance to stun. So let's try to stun a tower. There, we got a tower stun. We got lucky on that. You don't always get a tower stun. Now, for Orochi, a couple options. Usually the Slicing Winds. I will attack the other tower with this. This is probably a good option. That's going to decrease that tower's attack bar. So you guys seen it was close to full. Now that tower has to wait a little bit longer before it gets a chance to attack. So we don't want to cast Twister because that's going to heal our allies. We don't really need that. We're just going to go for damage over time, normal attack probably. It doesn't really matter what you do for that one. Alright, so Body Slam. This is going to decrease the tower's attack. We got a continuous damage effect also. This is going to decrease the tower's attack power and defense. So let's do that. Okay, we missed with the attack power, but we got the defense. So that tower is going to go down faster. Here, Decelerate. Definitely want to cast this next because we cast Pep Talk first. This is going to decrease all of their speed if we're lucky enough to hit with it. And look, we were lucky enough to also get a stun because Shannon has Despair Runes. So now that tower's stunned. This tower is not even close to being able to attack yet. So let's focus on this tower for now. Doesn't really matter who we attack here because this has a chance to decrease the enemy's speed, but they already have the decreased speed. So we'll just attack the tower, do a little bit of damage here. Probably should be focusing on this tower a little bit more. Griffin, let's hit this tower. There we go. This tower is going to die once this damage over time effect kicks in, which is going to be very soon. So now we can do the Orochi Storming Gale. That's going to put up all these damage over time effects on this tower. So this tower is going to die next. So let's start focusing on a Golem. So this Golem's going to do less damage with the glancing hit. Damage over time, we were lucky enough to hit with that again. Body slam, less defense on this golem. Let's try to stun this other golem. Alright, we got a stun, we were lucky. So we're hitting with just about everything, which is kind of unusual. So that's about it. So what I recommend when you're down to 2 monsters, and this goes for all content, not just this dungeon, just start doing auto attacks for the most part. Because you want to have your skill cooldowns ready to start the next battle. Because when all the enemies are up on the next board, that's when they're going to be the most dangerous to you. This guy's not dangerous now to us because he's all alone. So you want to have all your skills on off cooldown when you go into the next battle. That's going to get you the farthest in the game if you play this way and you're not concerned about doing an auto team. You're going to be able to go very far with just 5-star monsters. You don't even need these 4 stars. You're probably going to be able to do this with the other team we discussed with the light monsters. So we're going to do the same thing here. There's 3 golems instead of 2. Actually, let's do the first 3 battles, then we'll speed things up. Same thing here. We're going to actually go Tailwind. This is going to increase all our attack bars again. I'm going to go Pep Talk again. I think that's a good choice. Decelerate's probably just as good. Alright, let's try to get a stun on a tower. Maybe we'll get lucky again. We did. We're very lucky. Slicing wins the other tower. There goes the attack bar of that tower. Alright, we're going to just attack this tower. We're going to do a body slam to decrease this tower's attack and defense. We hit with both. We were lucky. So this attack tower is not going to do much damage to us. Alright. Let's just keep it up, and I might make mistakes. It's not as big of a deal if I make a mistake with my team now. We're going to finish this tower off because they can afford a few mistakes. When you start doing this, maybe you won't have all 5-star max. Maybe you'll have a 4-star monster of some sort, and it'll be more important that you don't make a mistake. But right now, it's not a big deal for my team. So we're just going about this. I think this will kill that tower, but we're going to hit it again just to make sure. Alright, decelerate. Everybody's okay. We got 1 stun. That's good. We're going to go body slam. We're just going to use our abilities until, I'll even use this ability, until we're down to 2 monsters, because then we can recover all of our other skills. Got a stun. That's sweet. Alright. I should have done Pep Talk there. Not a big deal for my team, though. We discussed that. Alright. There's no real rhyme or reason why I'm doing this stuff, but I'm going to speed it up here, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. Okay, everyone, we're back with the 3rd board here, which is a little bit different. There's no towers. There's the big giant in the middle. So what I like to do on this one, of course, start off like normal, like every other board. Get that shield up, and then Tailwind's probably a good choice. Get that extra speed going on. Pep Talk again, probably a good choice here. So now we already have increased defense, increased chance of them landing a glancing hit, increased. We got a shield going on, so they can't really even hurt our monsters right now. So let's try to get a stun. Okay, we got super lucky again. Now, if you just take out the biggest giant, the entire board will clear. But normally that's not super easy to do. I like to take out the other two giants first because on B10 this guy actually has a lot of hit points. So let's focus on the little giants first. That's usually what I do. And there's no real difference here between this and the towers, except I like to do body slam on the big giant because his attacks hurt more. So you definitely want to get the less attack power on the big giant. That's about the only difference. So I missed that, which kind of stinks. But with everything else we're going to be doing to him, look, I missed the speed on him too. So that's a bit of a bummer. But the Rakaja has a chance to decrease the speed. So Bernard missed. So this is where Rakaja kicks in, and he has a chance to decrease the speed too. He missed too. La-di-da. But I don't think we're going to have any problems with our team here, especially because we had that shield up plus the pep talk from Shannon. We're going to go with glancing hit. We just want to keep debuffs on the big guy while we whittle down the little guys. That's normally my suggestion. So I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm going to speed up the video till we get to the next board. Okay, everyone, here's the final board before the giant. Same strategy. We have full skills, so it's going to be the same kind of deal. I'm not really going to talk about this. Just hopefully you manage to have full hit points and full skills when you get to this point. I'll talk to you guys soon once we get to the giant. Okay, here we are at the giant. Nothing's really changed. Same strategy, same kind of deal. Acasis going to put the shield up for us. We're going to do Tailwind. Actually, we're going to go Body Slam. It's very important that we get the attack debuff on the giant. Not as important for my team, but for a new player starting team who might not have as well-runed monsters as mine are, you might really need that. So we got lucky. We got defense and attack debuff on the enemy. Glad that happened. All right. So now's the choice. Do we go with Pep Talk or do we go with Decelerate to do speed on all these guys? I'm going to go with Pep Talk here. Extra defense and extra attack power for us seems to be more important. So here's the attack timer for the giant. So once this hits 7, whoever caused it to hit 7 is going to get attacked. So we'll see that in a little bit here. But the reason I mention it is both of the Wind Rakaja's attacks hit 2 times. So the only reason to be attacking the giant with Rakaja would be for the speed debuff. And we're going to get that next time with Shannon anyways, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to attack him with the speed debuff. It's going to increase his attack timer. But we can't get any stuns. This attacks 2 times the chance to stun. So maybe it makes more sense for us to attack a tower and get that speed debuff. But I'm going to attack the giant. I don't know that it really matters much. But you want to be wary of his attacks just because you don't want to be increasing this timer needlessly. So we got him. He's going to attack slower now for this turn because he's got that speed there, the speed debuff. So that helped. Now we got options here, but normally you're going to go Storm and Gale all the time on the giant. So this is definitely going to trigger his ability because this is going to go up 6 times. And once that hits 7, he's going to attack my Wind Ninja. But we're going to get lots. He's already got the shield. You want to make sure you have the shield and defense buff. on before you do something like this. So here we go, Storm and Gale. Got lots of damage over time. You see that attacked my Orochi, but he didn't take any damage because he had the shield up and everything else that we had going on for us. We had the attack debuff, so that helped. We had increased defense, so that really helped my Orochi survive that. So normally just a Casus is a single target attack on the giant because we do have a chance to get more continuous damage on him. So I do that. Now we're going to go Tailwind to get increased speed for all of us, plus that attack, 30% more attack bar for all allies. Now we get more turns before the giant. He's about ready to attack, and it's going to be an AoE attack. So Decelerate, let's make sure we get that speed debuff on the towers. That's going to be important too. Plus, we want this to go to 2 instead of 1. So Decelerate lasts for 2 turns. Okay, we missed it on him. You can see it's still just 1, but we did get it on the towers. So that is important to keep the speed debuff on the towers with this team. Now I'm probably doing a little bit of overkill on how I'm telling you guys to do this battle, but these are all important things depending on your team and how much accuracy your monsters have. I'm trying to do the absolute best we can right now. So okay, we're back to Rakaja. We don't need to use his heal, and we don't need the speed because it only lasts for 1 turn, so even if we hit with the speed on the giant, it's not going to help our situation. So in this case, I'm just going to do a general attack on a tower. We can't stun the towers, so this attack's not helpful for us. So nothing's really helpful, but we don't want to increase that timer. So we go for the tower. Now we don't need heals, or else we'd do Twister here with a Casus. So we're just going to go for another continuous damage effect on the giant. We got it. And her continuous damage effect lasts 3 turns. So that's going to be a total of 15% hit points. So her damage over time effects are more powerful than Orochi, but he puts up a whole bunch of them. So Slicing Winds, this is going to decrease the giant's attack bar. That's a good thing. We don't want him to be attacking all the time. It didn't really matter. He still was the next to attack. So he blew away our shields, and now we have less speed. We took a few debuffs as well. I think we took those from the towers, I believe, the defense one. Not 100% sure. Yeah, defense of all enemies. So it looks like that's where we took that from. Not entirely sure on that. So Body Slam, we definitely need to renew the attack power debuff on the giant. So we're going to hit him with that. Ooh, that was a little bit scary because we hit the timer up here, the 7 count timer. So Shannon, now we're ready for Spirit Ball. This is going to have a 50% chance of increasing the enemy's chance to land the glancing hit. This is very important, but with the low accuracy that Shannon has, I don't have a high chance of hitting with this. So it's not super important that we get this on the boss, but it definitely helps. So we're going to attack the boss with Shannon. Look, we are lucky enough to get it. So that's the glancing hit debuff up there. So we could use a heal here, so I'm going to do a Casus. Timer's 1. That's going to heal up Bernard a little bit. Rakaja, I'm still going to save his heal. Now, the boss has no speed debuff on, so I'm going to attack with his normal attack with Rakaja and try to get that speed debuff. Okay, we got it. There it is. Good stuff. So the general Bernard Wind Griffin attack doesn't really do anything, so I always attack the tower with this. I don't want to increase that timer. So we'll attack the tower. Attack the giant with Orochi. That's the only skill. His normal skill is the only one that's up right now, but it has a chance to do a continuous damage, so let's do it. Timer went up 1. So we don't need to attack the boss to get that glancing hit because we already have it. So I'm going to attack the tower with Shannon. It's the only choice we have. So we're in a little bit of a bad situation here. We have defense debuffs on a lot of our monsters, and the giant's getting close to attack again. If he attacks, he's going to do massive damage, especially he might kill monsters that have the defense debuff on right now. So let's go for another continuous damage effect from a Casus. Hopefully we'll hit. We got lucky, we hit. Continuous damage for 3 turns. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky for us this time. not so much. It's a no-brainer. We're gonna attack with Tailwind. We need it. So now Orochi. Orochi doesn't have defense. Orochi would probably die right now if I attacked with this normal attack because it would hit the 7 cooldown. He would attack Orochi, and then the giant would probably be the next to attack. And with that second attack, it would probably kill Orochi. So I'm actually just going to take his attack to a tower right now. Now, Rakaja, we don't need the heal right now. We're definitely going to save it. We're just going to attack a tower, I think. Okay, good. Shannon was next to go, so Pep Talk. We definitely want to increase our defense before the giant hits us all here. So there we have the defense buff now. Body Slam, we don't really need it, so I'm actually going to save that till the giant does attack. But, well, I'm still not going to trigger the giant. I don't want to risk it. Now we have our shield, we can definitely take the giant's attack now. Easy peasy. So that's kind of how you need to work this a little bit. So we're going to decrease the giant's attack bar a little bit here. And that triggered his 7th hit, which was fine because we had the shield and the defense up for Orochi. Body Slam. Now this is hopefully going to take these to 2. There, we got lucky in that hit again. So we're increasing, we're adding on to our buffs, our debuffs that we have on the giant. Decelerate, we definitely need to get some more speed debuffs on these monsters. So there's speed debuff. We hit with everybody except the tower, but the tower still has a 1-turn speed debuff. Twister, let's do it. Let's get a little bit more hit points for our guys. Rakaja, you know, we're close enough to the end. We can heal up Orochi, not a problem. Tailwind, let's do it. Let's get some more speed for our guys. Try to get another continuous damage effect here. Let's see if we can't renew the glancing hit. Nope, we weren't lucky enough. But this is probably going to wipe him out. Hopefully this doesn't kill Orochi. He does have the defense, the less defense debuff. But let's get those dots. Nope, didn't kill him. So we got lucky there. We'll body slam him. Why not? He's going to die here next turn anyways. I think we win. We're going to go for the tower to get the speed debuff on the tower. We didn't hit. That's okay though. So as soon as his attack bar is up, I think these dots are going to do the final damage to him. We'll know soon enough. There. So that is Giants Keep B10 with a win team. And this team can do the same thing with a lot easier with wind. Oh, this is not a good rune because it's attack plus. If this was attack percent and 2, this would be pretty good. But crit rate plus 5%, I'm still going to sell it. But if it's a water light or dark dungeon or a lot of Tower of Ascension content, I mean, this is a really good team. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm just going to show the spreadsheet again real quick for those of you interested. I hope you can build an awesome team, and I look forward to your comments. I hope this was very helpful for you. Have a great night. LMC signing out for now.